All right, continuing assignment 6, building on what I was showing through the work from home day videos. We're going to use Vectr.com and we're going to build our type. Now, once you're done building your type, like I did in Vectr.com, you're going to save it as an SVG. So if I open up my folder in assignment 6, this was the SVG I saved from Vectr.com. When you double click an SVG on these computers with Illustrator, it opens up in Illustrator, right? But the whole point is to have black type design where they are individual vectors that you can modify. So how do you do that? If you didn't look at any of the videos from Monday's work from home day, you start with your type blocking sketch. So this was my type blocking sketch. And it's, what is type blocking? I have it, text blocking, I have it up on the screen to the right. It's how you design how type goes around your spot illustration and how it works. So all I'm going to do in Vectr.com is go to that site. It's in our links. Say use now. Ignore all of the sign up stuff. They've added a membership option, right? We do not need that to do what we're doing in the class. Just click off of it and you can say open file. The open file you're going to open is your sketch. So I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to go to this digital art, go to assignment 6, and then go to my sketch of my text blocking. Just like when we made sketches for our logos and then went into Vectr.com to trace the vectors. Same thing. This time, instead of tracing a logo as a vector, as a black shape vector, we're making black shape type. And just like I showed in the video, we can do that with the pen tool, but I'm going to double down on another method right now. So I'm not just repeating what I've already put into the videos. So one thing that's really helpful in vector programs is the type tool, because type, letter forms, are vector shapes. If you're a type designer, what you're designing are vectors that then get linked to the keys on the keyboard. So just like when we did our logo design, first thing I'm going to go is go to my image in layers and take the opacity down quite a bit. And then lock it, right? The next thing I'm going to do is, instead of build with shape tools like I did in the video, or with the pen tool like I did with the video to trace these letters as black shape vectors, I'm going to use the big T, the text tool. And the first thing I'm going to do, just like if it was Google Slides, is draw a big text box, big enough for my type. And then I'm going to type in my text. So I'm actually going to do a lowercase n, a lowercase I, a lowercase g, h, t, uppercase h, lowercase a, w, k, and s. Right? Now I select that type, just like you would in a word processor, and in the properties off to the right, you'll see the typefaces. Not that. Here. So if you click on the typeface, you'll see all of the ones that are licensed for Vectr.com. Now, this is why in the assignment it talks about going to Defont.com. Defont.com is like a Pixabay resource for type designers that want to get their type design out there. So you can find lots of type design. Some of it's licensed only for personal use. Some of it's licensed for all uses, different Creative Commons. The problem is, on our campus machines, because of security protocols instituted last year, we're no longer allowed to download typefaces onto these machines. But you can onto any computer that you have administrative privileges on, right? But that's not the end of the world, because this project is not find the perfect typeface and just use it. This project is to customize your own original typeface. But that often happens by finding a typeface that is interesting, like this one, right? And then modifying it to suit your needs. So I kind of like this one, actually. Now, modifying it to suit your needs doesn't mean I just take it as is. It means I modify it, right? So sometimes that's more difficult than other times. One way you modify it is by adjusting the kerning, the spacing between the letters. And if you select it all while it's still a type tool and you hold down Option, sometimes, like in programs like Photoshop and Illustrator, it will adjust the kerning for you. Here, you would have to manually adjust it by hitting spaces in between the type and then selecting the space, like I'm trying to do here, and then change the point size of it. So I can make a really tiny space. Nope, I got to do it to the whole thing. So that's annoying. So this is a limitation of Vectr over Adobe Illustrator. So if you wanted really full control, I now know that it's Piedra is the type I want, but I'm going to do it letter by letter. So first, I'm going to modify this in. So the first thing is, I have the typeface I want. Next, I'm going to see if there's a font that I like. A font variation is bold, italics, underlined, outlined, anything you see in this drop. This type design does not have any font variations. So what does it have? Nothing except this shape. So how do I turn this into a vector? Well, what I do is I'm going to duplicate it. So copy, paste, so that I have it first as a text, and now I'm going to turn this into an outline. This is actually what's really cool and really easy in Vectr.com. You click on it, and then here in the options, you click on outline text. And what it does is convert whatever type you chose into vector points. Why is that great? Well, because you can select the whole thing, make it whatever size you want, and then you can rotate it. I want to make mine slightly italicized. And you can adjust the individual anchor points. And I'm just doing this with my mouse. So if I want to give it serifs, what I'll do is just add an anchor point like we did with our logos and then kind of move these around to give it one. If I want to make it all italicized, it's a little trickier. I have to hold down Command as I select all the anchor points on this side. And if you saw my videos on Monday, that can be difficult sometimes because they can often have redundant anchor points. But once you've selected multiples, then you can move all of them. And yeah, all of those are redundant anchor points. So annoying. So then I have to take all of those, hold down Command. And that's just in the type design itself, and then delete those. Right? But that gives me control of just one edge of the type. And so once I found all the redundant ones, this allows me to shape it to something I like a little bit better. I was holding down Shift instead of Command. You want to hold down Command, get all the anchor points. Boom, 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 boom. Do that. Nope, not that one. All right, and then we can move them. And I can maybe just take the bottom ones, hold down Command, and I can adjust them individually just on the bottom, right? If I wanted to add, I could even use the pencil tool if I need to, add a little serif. I can just draw that shape, but I hate the pencil tool in Vectr.com, so much better in Illustrator. So, let's get off the pencil. So instead, you just double click and you drag the anchor points where you want them. And then if you want to curve them, you can always double click them and set curves, right? Or you can use the rounding tool, the cornering tool that they'll sometimes show you. That's what these little dots are, to round certain things out. Thank you, Christian. And at the end of the day, you want to end up with a type, a letter form that you like. Just like we did with our logo shapes. Now, why do I do it individually for each letter? Well, that's so I can adjust the kerning. So then I go back to my layers and I go back to my text one, and then I change this into an I, right? And then I make a duplicate of it, click it here, Command C, Command V, and then I outline that one so I have it as a vector shape that I can modify and use. And I can use different typefaces too. Now, the reason I have to do it individually is so I can individually adjust all the type. But maybe for this next step, I'll just make a duplicate, or I'll just do every other letter all at once. Come on. So I'm using my type tool now. Nope. Going to this text layer. Deleting this one. And then doing everything else. And then creating outlines. Now that's all a vector. And I can rotate it. I can adjust it accordingly. The problem with, get something that looks pretty good. And if I want to adjust individual anchor points, I can. The problem with Vectr.com, I'm not quite sure why it has this problem with type design, is that you can't isolate individual letters here. There's no way to just select the G, for instance, without selecting everything else, so that I can size it or change it separate from everything else. So that's why you do it letter by letter. Once you have that, then you turn off your image and you select all of your vectors so that they fit on the artboard. So I want to select all of these, not the freehand path. Okay, but all of these. And then I'm going to shrink them, holding down shift so they don't lose any, or not holding down shift so they don't lose any proportion. Make sure it fits on the artboard, because we're going to save it as an SVG, and anything that's off of the white artboard will get cut off in the transferable vector. Now we export it as an SVG, download it, and then you name it the name of your text. So this was just type design that I customized from a typeface in Vectr.com. And I'm going to call it Nighthawks from Vectr.com. Okay, as an SVG. I marked these purple, they're transferable. So what's the next step? I've got my black type design. Honestly, the next step is just to get it into Canvas. And that's easy to do because all I need you to do is actually take a screen grab of it with a little bit of the boundary so we can see your overall size. And then you're going to post it to the Canvas project, which is under Assignments, Assignment 6. All right. And Jonathan, our agenda is up on the board here. So I posted the one that I hand drew in Vectr.com in the videos. Now I'll also post this one, which is just modified text tool options. And now I decide which text do I want to use. So I have these two options. And I think I want to use the one that looks more like a breakfast cereal. And I think this one looks more like a breakfast cereal. Do you guys agree? A little bit more fun, right? But that's how you get an SVG. So I'm going to bring that SVG in here, but I already have this one, this SVG. And then I saved another SVG on Monday where I added a star. So if I just open it up in Illustrator quick, it has this feature to it. So if you're using Adobe Illustrator, there are two file types that are